Donald Trump posted the most racist thing I've ever seen a sitting president post in my entire life on his social media platform. And then he had Caroline Leavitt gaslight all of us once again, calling us fake ragers. And then he gaslit us again by lying and telling everyone that he didn't watch the full video, even though he had the full video up on his social media for a very long time after he knew what was on it. Anyway, I thought I would tell you a really fun story from my personal life about Barack Obama. So Barack Obama was a professor at my law school while I was in law school. And this was before he became the Obama that we all know. He had been a member of the state Senate, but he had not even started running for US Senate. And many of the students had no idea who he was. In fact, many of them pronounced his name incorrectly, including me at the time. And he was teaching a class called Race. It's RACE in all capital letters. And I remember when I first saw it as one of the potential classes I could take, I thought it was so provocative, but I didn't sign up for his class. I was a lazy, stupid MFer law student who didn't want to go to class on Friday afternoons. And that was the only time he met for his class. So everybody else was taking the provocatively named race class taught by Professor Obama, and I wasn't. So fast forward during my 3L year, and by this time, Barack Obama was running for US Senate and was in full-blown campaign mode. So he was bopping around to all the local Chicago law firms to glad hand with all the lawyers. I was interning at a local law firm, the one that I ultimately became a partner at, and we all learned that Barack Obama was going to be coming in that day during our lunch hour to meet with all the lawyers. He came to my law firm and we had our biggest conference room. He was there and he gave this very short address. And I remember thinking, oh, Professor Obama looks so nervous. He was stuttering, and I'm gonna tell it right. Like, I did not think he was the best speech giver at that time, but this is very early on in his political career. Right after his speech, everyone clustered around him, and eventually he came to all of the interns, many of whom were classmates of mine at my law school, and we were all chit-chatting with him and joking around with him. We all got to shake his hand, and I remember I was like, I'm so sorry, I didn't take your class because it met on Fridays, and he was really nice. And one of my fellow interns was like, Professor, I'd like to have words about my grade. And it was just like so wholesome. Now, you know how this story ends. He gives his groundbreaking speech at the convention. He's on with David Letterman, where he's saying you should be president. And then before we all know it, we're all Oprah Winfrey sobbing our eyeballs out at his inauguration. Fast forward even farther. It's 2016. It's the last year of his presidency, and Donald Trump has already been elected into the Oval Office, and we all know what's coming, or at least some of us knew what was coming. I was representing a client at that time, pro bono, a man, nonviolent criminal, who had been arrested for possession of a very small amount of marijuana, and he was sentenced for several years, decades in jail. By this time, the laws had changed to the point where it's highly unlikely he would have even been prosecuted for committing a crime. One of the final things that President Obama did in his presidency was to pardon my client. The thing is, I continue to think of President Obama as professor in my head for many years, because it was the first way I thought of Obama, Professor Obama, not President Obama. And I think the thing that I take away from all this is that whether he's Professor Obama, whether he's President Obama, he never stopped teaching all of us what it means to be a human being.